Nikola Tesla is undoubtedly one of the greatest inventors of all time, creating some of the most used electrical concepts we have in the world today. The creator of the alternating current, which powers most of the world's electronics today, was a celebrated figure. Although most of his ideas were far ahead of his time, and even fellow inventors back then couldn't possibly comprehend the futuristic claims Tesla made. But it turns out most of his predictions were far more accurate than even Tesla himself would have believed. In today's video, we'll be showing you how Nikola Tesla predicted the future of 2025. With over 300 patents to his name, Nikola Tesla was undoubtedly one of the greatest minds of all time. And while most of his inventions helped propel the world into the electrical age, his ideas were not always welcomed by the common ear. Tesla dabbled in all things electrical, from lighting bulbs with just his hand to transmitting electrical current without the use of wires. But even with all that innovation, Tesla still made some bold claims about advancement in technology that was strange to anyone in the early 20th century, but have been realized 100 years later. Some of these predictions may be normal in today's world, but it would astound you to know that Tesla predicted their existence well over a century ago. Climate change. Climate change is a hot topic in today's world, with massive debates among scientists and experts about the current and future state of the planet's atmosphere and geology. Most people believe that climate change is a product of activity from the last 50 years resulting from heavy greenhouse gas emissions from the carbon age. Black carbon, which is a chemical pollutant resulting from burning fossil fuel, has been found to contribute to increasing surface temperatures, while other pollutants, such as sulfate, have been observed to contribute to cooling the planet's atmosphere. It's understandable to expect no one from before 1950 to predict the environmental changes our planet would face in the coming century. Everyone except Nikola Tesla. Tesla predicted the importance of environmental protection in several statements and interviews he gave in the 1920s. In one particular interview, Tesla stated, "Hygiene, physical culture will be recognized branches of education and government. The Secretary of Hygiene or Physical Culture will be far more important in the cabinet of the President of the United States, who holds office in the year 2025, than the Secretary of War." This, of course, has a striking similarity to what we have in the US today, with the withdrawal of US troops from the Middle East and environmental laws aimed at reducing the negative effects of pollution on the environment more enforced than ever. Tesla's statement during the interview also highlighted the need for pollution regulation as one of the social vices that would plague the world in the coming century, and we're seeing that play out all too well in today's world. While studies into the effects of human activity on climatic factors such as weather conditions are common today, these studies were practically non-existent in the early 20th century. The age of high carbon emissions from fossil fuel didn't reach its peak until much later in the century, and there was very little chance anyone could have made such predictions, but somehow Tesla did. But that's not all. Tesla's statement on pollution and the environment might have been targeted at the 21st century, but it was barely 35 years after he made his claims that the US Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA, was created. Tesla was somehow able to predict not just the direct results of pollution on the environment, but also able to predict governmental reaction to these situations. Mobile phones. Having smartphones has become an integral part of our day-to-day lives, as most people are simply unable to properly function without access to their cell phones. These small handheld devices have become second nature to most people, as they enable us to have access to people, services, and businesses across wide distances at just the touch of a button. While cell phones have only been around for the last 30 to 40 years, it turns out Nikola Tesla predicted their existence well over 100 years ago. During his 1926 interview with Collier's magazine, Tesla made several large-scale predictions about the invention of a device that would change how humans communicate with one another. Being an adept expert on wireless electronics and telephony, Tesla was an authority on the subject of wireless transfer of current, and it turns out he could predict how advanced they would be over the next century. In his interview, Tesla stated, "We shall be able to communicate with one another instantly, irrespective of distance, and the instruments through which we shall be able to do this will be amazingly simple compared with our present telephone. A man will be able to carry one in his vest pocket. You can simply imagine how this must have sounded to anyone in 1936 when there were barely any television sets available, and the idea of transmitting data without wires over long distances was simply inconceivable. It is important to note that although Tesla was a celebrated genius and inventor, some of his ideas were incredibly ambitious, and most people simply chalked it up to mad genius. And the invention of a device that would enable you to communicate with others over wide distances and can fit in your vest pocket must have simply sounded like one of such mad ideas. But as it turns out, Tesla was once again on the right path, as today we have such technologically advanced smartphones that not only enable communication over large distances, but are also able to capture and store data such as pictures and motions in a way that is far beyond what even Tesla had predicted. It is incredibly bizarre that Tesla made his predictions of the smartphone almost 100 years ago today, as back when the phone was invented, you simply couldn't just carry one in your vest pocket. The first invention of the cell phone was incredibly bulky and expensive, and even required a base where a wire is connected to it such that it was a hassle to carry along. These early cell phones had incredibly poor reception and had to be used in certain locations where signals were particularly strong. But thankfully, technology has greatly advanced over the last few decades with satellite and wireless services such that smartphones are able to communicate regardless of location and distance. Tesla's prediction of the smartphone was so accurate that he even predicted certain smartphone features such as FaceTiming and video calls. In the same interview, the genius inventor stated, "Not only this, but through television and telephony, we shall see and hear one another as perfectly as though we were face to face despite intervening distances of thousands of miles." This prediction in particular was incredibly shocking, as even the initial inventors of the cell phone couldn't have predicted the possibilities of FaceTiming and video calls on the device which they had created. Video calls were only just launched in the last 2 decades, a feature that cell phone pioneers were amazed by. These pioneers will be shocked to find modern cell phones equipped with features such as GPS technology, emails, video recording, and other forms of long-distance communication. The Internet. Another less discussed prediction from Nikola Tesla was his seemingly unnoticed prediction of the discovery of the Internet. In his 1926 interview, while giving a very long description of modern-day cell phones, Nikola Tesla also made mention of what could be translated to today's Internet. He started, "When wireless is perfectly applied, the whole Earth will be converted into a huge brain," which, in fact, it is. The statement indicated that humans will soon be linked regardless of distance into one huge brain. This is more or less a 1926 description of today's Internet, where wireless communication, radio frequencies, and satellites have made it possible for communication, data transfer, and storage across open spaces to every corner of the planet. Somehow Tesla knew this will be possible in the next century, and even went as far as predicting the devices that will be used to operate this huge brain, which are smartphones and other computerized devices. It was well over 80 years after Tesla's initial prediction before we were introduced to the World Wide Web. The Internet is a strikingly physical representation of Tesla's prediction, as it is indeed a brain with billions of connections that link millions of people across great distances. Wireless electricity. Tesla was indeed a man of electricity who had an uncanny understanding of how currents were transmitted with or without physical contact, and always sought ways to improve and manipulate these properties. In several instances, Tesla stated that the progress and development of humanity were dependent on how power was made available to the entire human race, and was an avid believer that electricity supply should be made free to all to alleviate poverty and maximize the use of scarce resources. Tesla wasn't just all talk, but sought out ways to make this idea of free electricity available to humanity, and dedicated his life to several projects that involve the wireless transmission of energy across great distances. Tesla was very vocal about his ambition to revolutionize energy consumption and generation, and was incredibly passionate about making free energy supply available to every corner of the planet. In his 1926 interview, Tesla went into great detail discussing how this wireless energy generation and transmission will be made possible. He stated, "When the wireless transmission of power is made commercial, transport and transmission will be revolutionized. Already motion pictures have been transmitted by wireless over a short distance. Later the distance will be inimitable. When wireless transmission of power becomes general, these methods will be as crude as is the steam locomotive compared with the electric train." Tesla had initially made plans to embark on a project which he believed, if successful, will be powerful enough to generate enough free electricity to be transmitted across the United States and beyond. In 1991, Tesla embarked on an ambitious project called the Wardenclyffe Tower. The Wardenclyffe project was a 57-meter-high tower that was poised to be a wireless communication tower situated on the east coast of the United States, and if successful, the tower would be able to transmit energy across the Atlantic to Europe and Africa. Tesla's theory of wireless energy transmission was well beyond any of his fellow inventors during that time. The inventor developed his own ideas and theorized that he could inject electric current into the Earth at just the right frequency and could harness what he believed was the Earth's own electrical charge. This, he believed, would cause the frequency to be in sync with the electrical potential of the Earth such that it could be tapped anywhere on the planet through special devices. The Wardenclyffe Tower project was ambitious to say the least, and Tesla sought out investors to fund his highly controversial project, and after years of searching, found an investor in J.P. Morgan. The illustrious banker invested over $150,000 into the development of the Wardenclyffe Tower, but when Tesla demanded more funding from Morgan, the investor refused to throw in more money without any tangible results from the project. Moreover, J.P. Morgan was not happy that Tesla intended to use the tower to supply free energy, as he was an investor who intended to make a profit from his investment. The disagreement between both parties caused the Wardenclyffe Tower project to be abandoned in 1902. The tower would later be dismantled and sold for scrap in order to recover some of the funding that was thrown into it. Modern-day technology is still unable to reproduce the ideas of Tesla's wireless energy transmission tower. The closest modern technology has come to this revolutionizing idea is the wireless charging feature on some smartphones available today. These smart devices are able to transmit energy without having a direct corded connection to the phone and can simply charge the batteries from just simple contact or even a centimeter apart. This might be a far stretch from transmitting energy across the Atlantic, but it is a step in the right direction, and we could see advancement that could match the ambition of the Wardenclyffe Tower in the coming decades. AI. Artificial intelligence has been making more strides in technological advancement in the last decade. AI is able to mimic human thought processes in such a way that it allows computer applications to analyze and learn from certain processes and improve their algorithm and training. These AI systems tend to get smarter and more intelligent with each successful round of data processing, as each interaction allows the program to measure solutions and develop similar but much better alternatives to solving problems. Artificial intelligence was practically non-existent in the early 2000s and was certainly not in the minds of most experts in the early 1900s. But somehow Nikola Tesla was able to predict an age where machines would work alongside humans even to much better degrees. Tesla describes this era as one in which current technology at that time was seriously under-equipped to offer tangible solutions to the problems of civilizations at that time. In his own words, Nikola Tesla said, "We suffer from the derangement of our civilization because we have not yet completely adjusted ourselves to the machine age." He reiterated that humanity at the time had yet to fully master and synchronize with the machine age. Tesla offered a solution in which he made his predictions, stating that the solution to achieving a utopian civilization does not lie in destroying, but in mastering the machine. Most people at the time couldn't quite possibly fathom what Tesla referred to as mastering machines, and unknowing to them, he was predicting a future where machines will have their own form of artificial intelligence similar to the human mind. Tesla had unknowingly described the future of automation in which tasks such as human labor, critical thinking, analytic calculations, and even creative ventures will be made possible with artificial intelligence. Tesla had unknowingly laid down the concepts for artificial intelligence almost 100 years before the first fully operational artificial intelligence programs were made public. In today's world, artificial intelligence programs are incredibly valuable as they are essentially able to behave and think like humans, but at a much faster and elevated level with an increased level of processing power compared to the human brain. Today, artificial intelligence offers several benefits to humanity, some of which include being able to automate repetitive tasks that were previously done manually and would otherwise require extended periods, resulting in fatigue for most humans and increased labor costs. AI is also able to improve our products and services with capabilities that are customizable to each person based on recommendations imputed in the program's algorithm. AI is also able to analyze data at a much faster rate than humans, allowing for an increased level of efficiency, which saves time and improves accuracy as the AI program is less likely to make mistakes compared to mistakes resulting from human errors. Drones. One of the earliest demonstrations of Tesla's intuition into futuristic technology was a demonstration that he carried out in 1898, showcasing the possibilities of wireless remote-controlled automated devices. In today's world, these devices are referred to as either toys or most commonly drones, as they are remote-controlled from varying distances. In his 1898 demonstration, Tesla performed a series of maneuvers using a remote-controlled boat at an electrical exhibition in New York's Madison Square Garden. Tesla equipped the 4-foot-long boat with a wired antenna and controlled the device around the small pool of water, with other features such as flashing lights that back then they perceived to be nothing short of magic. Most onlookers thought Tesla had a tiny monkey controlling the boat from the inside, but it was simply one of the earliest demonstrations of a remote-controlled device. All who witnessed the demonstration were astonished at the level of ingenuity of Tesla's device. Military personnel present at the demonstration saw potential applications as torpedoes and other such defensive or offensive weapons. Today, the world has harnessed the incredible power of wireless communication in multiple applications, ranging from robotics to toys and most especially drone applications, both in commercial and military functions. Tesla believed true wireless communication mechanical devices could be controlled from large distances, applications which we've seen carried out in present-day technology. In recent years, this has been taken much further with the invention of solar-powered devices that are able to harness and generate their own electricity, keeping them active for seemingly endless periods while being remote-controlled. The invention of drones has radically revolutionized several industries and services, some of which include governmental services such as border surveillance, law enforcement, environmental monitoring, and so on. From an idea that started with Tesla's motorboat demonstration in a small pond in New York City to efficient, technologically advanced drones that have been used to monitor natural disasters, film, and other such services. These modern-day drone technologies could also offer future applications, such as providing means of transport and supply to inaccessible and remote areas. This application has been highly beneficial in delivering vaccines and medical supplies to dangerous and inaccessible areas affected by contagious diseases and wars all around the globe. Autopilot and self-driving cars. Indeed, Tesla's predictions were not limited to drones and artificial intelligence, but the genius also predicted the advent of autopilot systems and the manufacturing of self-driving cars. Tesla's passion for wireless communication spanned into automobile carriage as early as 1898, when he stated that, "I proposed to representatives of a large manufacturing concern the construction and public exhibition of an automobile carriage which, left to itself, would perform a great variety of operations involving something akin to judgment." This prediction flew over the heads of all who heard it, as it was practically inconceivable for an automobile to not only power itself, but be able to maneuver city streets and highways without human intervention. Fast forward to 120 years later, and big names like Mercedes-Benz, Ford, and BMW all have projects dedicated to self-driving programs for upcoming models on their lineups. Although complete autonomy and 100% functional self-driving cars are still yet to be commercially produced, there have been significant efforts in this regard. Coincidentally, Elon Musk's Tesla Motors has had the best success in coming close to a completely autonomous self-driving car. And although there have been setbacks, it has been proved that such cars are actually possible. Tesla Motors offers a variety of self-driving packages which enable autonomous, hands-free control for both freeway and highway driving, although none of which are completely autonomous yet. Although no completely autonomous commercial car is yet to be released, there are hundreds of other autonomous vehicles that are currently operational in other major industries, some of which include mining vehicles. Self-driving operational vehicles such as Caterpillar's autonomous trucks have been found to haul billions of tons of materials in over 7 years of active operation. Tesla's prediction for autopilot systems have also been found in both commercial and military aircraft, in which autopilot systems installed on planes have successfully piloted aircraft for hours without any human input. These autopilot systems have also been incorporated into some commercial cars that have been released in the last few years. Hopefully, in the coming decades, Tesla's prediction for completely autonomous cars will come to fruition, with vehicles able to complete round trips without any human input with 100% safety. Wi-Fi. Seeing as how Tesla was quite obsessed and profoundly adept in wireless technology and other forms of wireless communication, it wasn't too much of a stretch to guess that he could predict the invention of Wi-Fi and other wireless devices. The scientific genius was able to put in staggering details about what he believed would be the state of wireless communication devices in the future. In his own words, Tesla stated that present wireless receiving apparatus will be scrapped for much simpler machines. Static and all forms of interference will be eliminated, so that innumerable transmitters and receivers may be operated without interference. It is more than probable that the household's daily newspaper will be printed wirelessly in the home during the night. Domestic management, the problems of heat, light, and household mechanics will be freed from all labor through beneficent wireless power. Tesla was able to predict modern advancements in wireless technology, stating that sending and receiving data through transmitters would be much faster and easier in the future. Making his predictions as far back as 1898, it was almost 100 years to the date in 1997 before Wi-Fi was released to consumers. Ever since, the standards of Wi-Fi have continually evolved from a meager 2 megabytes per second to highly improved Wi-Fi spectrums that could transfer multiple gigabytes of data per second at incredible speed. Over the last 2 decades since its release, Wi-Fi has evolved to speeds 1,000 times more powerful than its original spectrum speed. Following Tesla's predictions, Wi-Fi has been used for multiple purposes, which include wireless communication and data transmission, and has resulted in reliable, faster, and cheaper internet access. Wi-Fi has improved, allowing for connections of more than 20 meters and no longer requires wires or cords for a connection to be established. With improvements in Wi-Fi, we are now able to communicate with multiple devices at once, all linked together on a central band. Features such as controlling light bulbs, thermostats, monitoring control systems, security panels, and other appliances have all been made possible with advancements in Wi-Fi technology. Tesla's prediction that wireless communication could make this level of connection possible has been established over the last 2 decades, with Wi-Fi applications in practical use in various walks of life, both commercial and industrial applications. Thought camera, MRI. While some of Tesla's predictions and ideas are still not seen in modern-day technology, some ideas were very preposterous in their description but could also be found in modern-day technology. One such outlandish idea was what Tesla referred to as a thought camera. In a 1933 interview, the inventor went on to describe what could be translated as a modern-day MRI machine, but in less accurate detail than the machines we see today. In his own words, Tesla stated that, "I expect to photograph thoughts. In 1893, while engaged in certain investigations, I became convinced that a definite image formed in thought must, by reflex action, produce a corresponding image on the retina, which might be read by a suitable apparatus. Now, if it be true that a thought reflects an image on the retina, it is a mere question of illuminating the same property and taking photographs, and then using the ordinary methods which are available to project the image on a screen. If this can be done successfully, then the objects imagined by a person would be clearly reflected on the screen as they are formed, and in this way, every thought of the individual could be read. Our minds would then indeed be like open books." In his description, Tesla spoke on imaging thoughts in the human mind as though they were translated to pictures in a photograph, but this could also be seen as imaging subsurface structures under the human skin. This is a striking resemblance to a magnetic resonance imaging machine, or an MRI, which is used to view organs, bones, tissues, and other such structures underneath the body. An MRI uses radio waves and magnetic fields to create an image of the internal structure of the body. This isn't a far cry from Tesla's description, and although it doesn't quite capture the ability to image thoughts, it is close enough that it can capture internal organs and structures that will not be seen unless under surgical conditions. There are still some predictions by Tesla that are yet to be invented, but we hope to see them in the coming decades.